Hello, I'm Yinka Bikini and welcome to Out of Frame. Every week we celebrate the work and talent that goes into the below the line team. That's everyone on a film or TV set that bring your favourite productions to life. This is the podcast where you get an insight into the film and TV world like you've never seen before. And we're doing it all at CrewHQ, a training centre based at the heart of Warner Brothers Studios, Leavesden. This is Out of Frame. Today on Out of Frame, I'm joined by someone who helps make sure that a film gets to the finishing line. And they're part of the production from the word go. Here in the studio, I have production controller Dominique Tucker. With over 10 years of experience in the accounting team, Dominique has worked across productions with the likes of Universal Pictures, 20th Century Studios, and of course, Warner Brothers. Dominique, welcome to Out of Frame.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. Busy because it's a working day, but it's, I'm happy to be here.
We've dragged you from your desk and plopped you on our sofa.
Which is lovely because I'm normally chained to it, so it's nice to be free.
So, Dominique, before we get into your role, I would love to find out a little bit more about you. So we have a little tradition on this podcast where I like to give our guests a proper introduction. So I've got two questions that are going to tell us a little bit more about who you are through your love of film. So what was the last film that you watched that really inspired you?
I watched last week Divergent for the first time.
Come on.
And I was just like, I'm not saying it's the best film ever made, but I really loved the more social aspects that it explored. I really am into kind of human nature and the psychology behind us all. So I just actually found the whole ideas of the factions really interesting. And we've actually done some training here at CrewHQ with the Insights team that did a lot of personality testing, which was invaluable for my team and how we all work together. And I actually thought it resonated. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about it since, for those reasons. Not necessarily for the...
You're allowed to like what you like.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so I thought it was actually the themes that it explored I was really interested in.
Divergent's a good answer. And what would the title of your biopic be?
I think I'd steal the title Big.
Nice.
I think because I'm this like tiny package, people often think I'm going to be quite small and timid and, quite cutesy. And I think I'm actually probably the opposite of all of those words in a lot of ways. I'm, quite fierce and strong. And yeah, so I think my family have always said like I'm a small person with a big personality. So I think Big would be quite a good title to have.
I really love that we're having someone like yourself on the podcast because I think that you're going to give our listeners an insight into how a film makes it through to production in a way that I've never heard before anyway. Because I think it's fair to say that without you, all those glossy ideas that are on mood boards and inspiration and all that sort of stuff, they would never make it onto the big screen. Would you agree?
Yeah, I wish everybody would agree. I think I would agree. No, I think, look, film is such like a collaborative approach. So it's definitely not because of me, but it's without it, it doesn't exist. For whatever we want to say, as much as we're in a creative industry, we're still part of a capitalist world. So money is still obviously a big driving force. So it has to work financially, right? So it's important as much as we'd love to be able to say it isn't. It is. And
yeah, no, so like if you're not the entire spine of a production, you're at least like some of the discs, Yeah,
absolutely. I think we hold each other together, production and accounting, kind of a hand in hand. We're like the two arms of, I guess, government or anything, that kind of like legislative and the judiciary or whatever, the duo that goes together. I think we support each other through everything. And you can't have one without the other.
You're actually one of the first people to join a below-the-line team. So who approaches you first? Is it the director, the producer, the studio?
For me, I have a great relationship with the studio, so I tend to get approached by a studio first. However, producers tend to like to work with certain controllers, so they may take them with them on show to show. So I would say either the producers or the studio, depending on the relationships that you build. Yeah.
So, because not all films are studio produced, of course, so on an independent film, would it be the producers that would contact you?
If you've got independent financiers, again, they may have preferred people that they like to work with. People feel safe once you've worked with them before and you've delivered something successful, they feel like their money's safe.
And what is step one to starting to make a film budget?
Read the script.
Yeah?
You can't budget a film if you don't know what you're budgeting, right?
Do you know, that's so funny because everyone that comes in here, and I've done a few episodes now, the first thing, and it's so obvious, but as a fan and not a professional, of course, read the script, but I wouldn't necessarily know that in the accounting department.
Everybody I meet who I tell what I do, when I've said I've read the script, they're like, why do you read the script? And I'm like, well, would you build a house if you had never seen the plans? Like, how could you know how much it's going to cost if you've never seen the thing that you're making? So, you know, are you going to have big crowd scenes? Do you have big action sequences? How do you know if you're covered for that financially if you don't know what you're even making? Is it a love story and a walk and talk, or is it something completely different? Are we sci-fi? You know, that all has a knock-on effect on how much money this film's going to need.
I guess by now, once you're reading a script or while you're reading a script, your brain's probably tallying things up.
It definitely goes that way. You start to see, okay, we've got angry protesters. There's hundreds of protesters. You're thinking crowd, lots of costume, lots of hair and makeup. That's a big, you know, infrastructure for that. There's certain things, you might read a script that's, oh, we're on a yacht today, you know, and you're suddenly going, great, we're now into renting a yacht and where are we going to do this? Or so, yeah, there's definitely some real key things that will stick out straight away that you know, whether you're into kind of big bucks or not as kind of flashy, not these mega pictures, not the tent poles, but just something a little bit more reasonable.
Who do you have to speak to and consult with when making a budget?
So it's a real collaboration between the exec producer and I. So the two of us will be the first people that kind of start to break down what this means. I very much rely on an exec producer's on-set experience and the knowledge that they bring, because without them, you know, I don't have, I can do the numbers, but I don't necessarily have their level of intuition about the type of equipment that we're going to use day to day. So once we start to then work together, it's really this collaboration between the two of us. You may bring in an AD to do a schedule, because again, script, schedule, how long is this going to take to film? Having someone break down, if it's a 10-week shoot versus a 20-week shoot, they're completely different cost centers. So you need to understand the length of time that it's going to take to break all that down. And that's a real skill in itself, which is where the ADs come in.
And for anyone listening who doesn't know what an AD is?
Yeah, the assistant directors. So we would get a first assistant director in. They're responsible for the schedule of the show, running the floor. They're the guy who shouts action on the floor. They're really the director's right hand to just making sure they keep everything on a track.
I can imagine that there's a lot of negotiating that happens early on, because at one end of the spectrum, you have the creative vision and the passion that drives that. And then at the other end, there's what's realistic and what's doable. How do you create balance?
I can't speak as detailed to the indie world, but especially in the studio world, they won't tell you what they want to make this movie for. They'll say, what does it cost, you know, and you'll come in. So you maybe start here and the studio are thinking here, and it's this constant battle to get that number to kind of reach a middle ground where you feel, one, that you're kind of maintaining the artistic integrity of what that was supposed to be. Because it might be that you start budgeting a show and based on the script that's put forward, it's a fantastic script, but it's just not financially viable. So without making changes to the script, you literally cannot take that number down any further. You're at the end. So it might be then that's when a studio might decide, well, we're not making this, or, you know, the people, or we're going to have some rewrites in order to make it more, which, you know, I'm sure writers, directors don't love having that pressure put on them to drive the story in that way. But also it has, you know, we see time and time again that the industry needs to make money. It has to, in order to keep investing and keep getting great films, we need people to go to the cinema and we need to produce things that make them want to go. So it's all tied in together. That's
so interesting that studios don't necessarily tell you what the budget is.
In their minds, I guess it becomes a bit of a game. They tell you one number, you'll ask for a bit more. Whereas if they haven't told you that number, would you come in close to that number? So it's this kind of
bargain hunt.
Yeah, right. It's like going to Portobello Road and starting with the guy, what about this? And seeing how it lands. Does that land well? Okay, we can. But it really is kind of and there is a lot of formulas behind how they price movies, right? Based on the projections, which nobody wants to hear about, but it has to be something that they can afford to make.
So once a budget is set, what happens next?
So the film I'm working on right now will be greenlit based on a certain number that the studio want us to hit, but we're not at that number. And then the prep period is all about working with the department heads, because obviously the exec producer and I will be working to get to a number, but then we need all these other people to come in and start getting into the detail. We would work with every department head, hair and makeup, costume, special effects. They will then start to submit budgets, and we will then have to work with them to massage those budgets to get them into the place where, as a whole, this all works together to get us to this number. So 9 times out of 10, you'll lock your budget the week before shoot, if not the day before shoot, and then you go into this new phase of cost reporting. That's when things change. It's like, okay, locked, done. Now you have to weekly report to the studio about your spend, and it becomes a completely different process.
So you've got initial budget,
Mm-hmm.
then you get the heads of departments in,
Mm-hmm.
and they submit their numbers.
Yeah.
And then you lock in a sort of number
Yeah.
for each department, and there's a total. And then, of course, once you start shooting, things always happen.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really difficult for, I think, the creative to always know the full run of things. We're talking about processes that take 1 to 2 years to come to fruition. It's like asking how you're going to decorate the house before you've even built it. Sometimes they need to go through that process. Yeah. So it's an evolution. So you might think you're going to go one way and then you suddenly swerve another way, in which case that money needs to be reshifted, rejigged. Okay, we're going to take from here but you don't ever really get any more money. It's just about rebalancing how that all comes together. And
what does it mean when something is greenlit?
It means that the studio have approved a number. We've all agreed that the film can be made for that number, that it's practically possible to make the film at the point that they've set it. If they feel that we aren't going to reach the number, our worlds are so far apart, it may be that it gets pushed for a little while you do go away and do some more work. With them, that's when the director would maybe have to make some creative choices. I just worked on a film that was being made about 5 years ago. They got to the point where they were beginning to build, and then they shut the project down. Circle to kind of last year, it came back around, a new script, new version of the script. It's now been made, but it was a completely different thing from where they began 5 years ago. And that process has taken all that time to now get to being able to make this film in a new country, completely different actors, everything changes. So the development process really can be years and years, which is hard for filmmakers, I think, to wait and not know. And especially for young filmmakers or up and coming that don't have the kind of money to kind of wait for 10 years for a film to get off the ground. It's difficult.
Dominique, my love.
Yes.
Every week on Out of Frame, the crew members that I speak to bring something into the studio with them. So an object which helps describe what their job is like on a day-to-day basis. What is that?
My beloved calculator.
You're a joker.
It's almost like a rite of passage, or was, maybe not now with the new generation. But yeah, to get one of these from a show, it was like, you're now an accountant. They're going to spend £60 on you for a calculator. You're a part of the team. So yeah, this is like, it was, I think, for anyone who's maybe older than 30, this is definitely an iconic accounts piece of equipment.
You brought that into the studio and I had a flashback to my maths GCSE.
Yeah, right. But we don't have all of the like awful Pythagoras. What it does have is, which I have stepped away from now, but it feeds a till roll. So we used to have
proper accountant.
So it would print, and you would have to like, any calculations that you would do, you would have to do it on the calculator, show your workings, and stick it to the piece of paper that was being signed by the accountant. So it was like, if somebody brought in their expenses, you would tally them all up. You would, and it was such a satisfying thing, like getting everything to balance and seeing it there. And yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't ever be without one, even though Excel does it all. I still have it on my desk and still use it.
It's good to double check. It is
absolutely
good to double check.
Right.
Are there any memories that spring to mind when you're looking at this calculator?
Well, half the new crew don't know what the hell it is.
Oh,
so
no.
they make me feel so old, which I don't think I am. But yeah, I'm constantly reminded that I am from a generation that did things differently. So yeah, I think a lot of them are like, what's that? And I'm like, it's like that Walkman question, you know? And you're like, what do you mean? What's this? It's like, it's everything. But yeah, no, it's, it definitely is becoming obsolete in a way, but I think I will still stick with it no matter what.
Do you have any specific productions that you worked on using this high-tech piece of equipment over there?
This was on the Alejandro Inarritu and Tom Cruise film. This was on probably The Flash, probably Tenet, the Chris Nolan film. This has travelled, and I take them, like Tenet, we went to Copenhagen, Estonia, like this gets packed in the case. So this is coming with me to locations no matter where we go. It's pride of place in the suitcase.
I feel like you've brought something in that it's almost like seeing an Argos catalogue. Do you know what I mean?
100%. And it's funny because when I began in the industry, everything was on paper and my job was filing. We filed everything and we had rooms of filing cabinets because you can imagine every penny that was spent, every timesheet, everything was on paper and had to be filed, and the amount of paper cuts and card cuts and the pain and the blood that went into all that filing. Now you walk into an accounts department and you just see a laptop and 2 monitors and there's nothing else in there. And it's such a stark contrast to what it was. There used to be a lot more stuff, and now it's just all disappearing into this one laptop, and that's kind of your, I guess I should have bought that because I'm nothing without that. But yeah, it just feels like this is more me.
I think it's very representative, and it's like when you first started, this was probably a thing that no one paid attention to. It was really boring, and now it could go in a museum.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I think if I asked my team to go back to this method, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, we're not doing that like that. No, we've moved on from that. So yeah, it's just completely generationally now. There's not many people, especially in the kind of younger, the new up and comers, that would have even experienced film in that form. And I feel like I'm, I used to work with a lot of older FCs. And they would be like, oh, when it was, this is how we did it. And now I feel like I'm that person saying, well, this is how we did it, and you think, God, I'm 36. It's crazy that in my short career, relatively short for a career, that I can have such a kind of different experience to somebody who's just starting maybe 5 years later than me or something like that.
Dominique, what made you choose a career in accounting?
Controversial. I don't know if I actually chose it. I think I just fell into it. I studied law, so completely unrelated to film or anything. And I was a poor student. And I guess it's the story of how a lot of film people get into the industry, which I think CrewHQ is doing a fantastic job of kind of opening those doors. But I was a poor student, had just finished my master's, and my brother-in-law was like, he was a personal trainer at the time, and he was training someone who was a controller, and they needed somebody in the office just to make teas, do some filing. I was like, I'll do it. I'll do anything. I just need some money. Living in London, like, got no money. I'm there. And I did it, and I just really loved it. It harped to kind of like all of the organizational logic, planning, all that kind of type A personality that I've got. And I was like, yeah. And then I did one, and then another one, and then it was like, yeah, I found my home. And it was just, I didn't even know that it was a job. And I think probably so many people don't know that this is a job or a career path. And it's, it's just, I've traveled the world with this job. I met my husband on a film in Tenerife in this job. Like, it's opened so many doors. I'm not creative. I never thought there was a place for me in film, but there absolutely is. And it's, I just love it. So yeah, it was happened just by chance, and I've never looked back.
What film did you meet your husband on?
Jason Bourne.
Come on.
Yeah, we were filming in Tenerife. He was driving a truck for the week, and we met. The the crew would go down to a beach after work, and we met. He's from Spain, and that was 10 years ago.
Do you know, I love that. And what I also love, and what we try to do here on this podcast as well, is show that pretty much any industry or career is relevant in film.
100%.
You know, you could have what could be what could be seen as like a bog standard job, or it can even be like a niche interest that you have, but there is some way to translate that into being in the film industry.
Absolutely. We have a cross-section of all industry, nurses, carpenters, painters, hair and makeup artists, designers. It just literally is everybody. I don't know anybody who's not represented. And so, which I think that's why film's so fascinating. The behind the scenes and what goes on and the people that you meet, it's so diverse.
A lot of these big blockbuster movies, the budget is millions of pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine that when you first get started, right, and your human brain has to contextualize those numbers and not get overwhelmed by the figures,
mm-hmm.
that must be difficult.
It's really difficult because it's a really funny thing. You deal with so much money on a day-to-day basis, and then you go into your home life and you have to remember that's not your bank account. You don't have that money. So, but no, it can feel overwhelming, but it really is. It's small pieces that make up a big pie. So it's very rare that one thing is that, in terms of is taking up 50% of the budget. It just doesn't happen that way. Everything are these small little bits and how it all comes together. And I think in a lot of ways, if you sat here with somebody who worked in the indie world who has no money, they'd probably say that's harder than working on a studio picture that does have the comfort of being financed by a studio.
What would you want the director or other heads of departments to know about your role in production?
I think probably that we're there to help. I think finances aren't people's strong point all the time, understandably. So I would wish they would use us more to help them in that area and lean on us. I like to think my department is welcoming and friendly and approachable. So I would say, come, and if you've got an Excel sheet that you need some help making work because that's how everybody budgets, then come and ask, because we will always help.
What financial advice would you give to somebody who is working on a small project, and maybe they're funding their own film or something like that?
I think the thing that people tend to do when you're budgeting is to cut the small things. They cut the PA, they cut the tiny bits of money that might go to making life a little bit easier. I would say don't start there. I think you make these small cuts in terms of budget size, but actually what those people bring and having that person there is actually far more valuable than you realize. So I would say always start from the top rather than going from the bottom, because that's where the money can be found.
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
Well, I think meeting all these incredible people and seeing what people create. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me, just the scale of some of the worlds that we create on set. It is just incredible. And I think I'm in constant awe, and I have the utmost respect for my peers. I just think what they do and what they create from nothing to just suddenly, now we're on the lot and you can see some of these huge films that are going on and the worlds that they're recreating. And it's just breathtaking every time. So I just think to see that and to be a part of that is just fantastic.
Without naming names, because I know that you love your job and you want to keep doing it, what was one of the biggest messes that you encountered in terms of sort of how did you help fix it and sort of what happened?
I haven't really been on shows that have got into a mess, and I would like to think that is because we set it up well from the beginning. But I think one of the things that probably always sticks out in my mind as happening, which was probably completely out of the realm of what would normally happen on a day-to-day, is we were shooting a film in Colombia, and we were shooting in the favelas. So it was a really poor neighborhood, and it was, I think, quite heavily controlled by a lot of gang presence. So there was a lot of armed guards on set, and an actor had requested some cash to be brought to them. And we typically didn't deal with cash in Colombia because for safety reasons. Just as an aside, Colombia is a fantastic place and I had a great time. Not to put anybody off going, where we were specifically was maybe a little bit more dicey. So I had to go and get some cash out, and I had to get taken in an armoured car with these guards with rifles to deliver this cash. We got lost. So yeah, that was pretty wild. We finally made it to the set, and I think I had I was pretty afraid, but it was, looking back on it now, it's all part of the fun of, being in accounts, I guess.
You and Ben Affleck, love it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Dominique, speaking to you today, I can tell that you know a thing or two about working in the film industry. But is your film trivia just as good?
No.
Short and sweet, we love it.
Yeah.
You've chosen a specialist subject within the world of film and TV before stepping inside CrewHQ today. And now is the time to be quizzed on that topic, which is epic, by the way.
Thank you.
It's the classic TV sitcom Friends. Why did you pick Friends? Why'd you pick it?
It's the thing that my husband and I go to. When you sit down in front of the TV and you're like, what do we watch? And when you don't want to have to make a decision, it's like, put a Friends on. Like, you can never be unhappy watching a Friends. And
absolutely.
There's comments that it maybe hasn't aged as well, but I just think you have to watch it for what it was in that time. And I don't think there's many things that have resonated in terms of the characters you just feel so connected to. And it just brings joy.
Question number 1, who would your friends say you are? Oh, so that's not really a question, I just want to know.
Monica.
Really?
Yeah. I'm definitely, I wish I could say something different, but yeah, I'm like clean, the kind of like, everything has its place, lots of like, I love I'm in accounts. I love a rule. I love a thing, I love anything that it has to be planned.
You love a sticky note.
Exactly. All those things. Yeah, I'm Monica, unfortunately.
Do you know who my mates say I am? Phoebe.
I'd rather be a Phoebe, right? She's cool, she's independent, she's a bit quirky.
Yeah, but like, I thought I was Chandler. They're very different.
Yeah. Although, I guess I'm the same, like, quirky.
Yeah, they're funny though, so that's all right.
Exactly.
All your questions are multiple choice. There's nothing at stake.
Just pride.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do this.
Okay.
Question number 1. In season 5, who is the first friend to find out about Monica and Chandler's relationship? Is it A, Rachel, B, Joey, or C, Phoebe?
I'm going to go B, Joey.
Ding, 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 ding. So it's only a few weeks into their secret relationship, and Joey finds out they spent a romantic weekend together.
In London.
Yes. And then a whole kerfuffle happened when everyone's keeping secrets and all this sort of stuff.
They don't know that you know.
Yeah, but I know you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Question number 2. Speaking of Joey, what stuffed animal does he own? Is it A, a bear, B, a panda, or C, a penguin?
It's a penguin, but I can't remember his name.
Hugsy.
Hugsy.
The penguin's name.
Yeah.
But he's a plush penguin that he keeps in his apartment. But then Emma
tries to steal. Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing really well.
Thank you. This shows how many times I've watched Friends. Yeah.
Final question. What are the only things Monica lets Phoebe handle for Rachel's birthday party? Is it A, cups and ice, B, the guest list, or C, the food?
Cups and ice.
Yes, it is. And in true Phoebe style, it gets really extreme, and there's banners of cups, there are cup hats, there's dry ice.
Literally, why would you not want to be a Phoebe? Like, she's fantastic.
Well, 3 out of 3, it's a clean sweep. The one where you smashed it.
Thank you.
Dominique, I've loved speaking to you today. I wanted to take a little moment to say thank you, because I know it's out of your comfort zone as well, but thank you for stepping into CrewHQ and shedding some light on your department. And as you know, CrewHQ is a champion for diversity and inclusion within the film industry. From your perspective, Why do you think that is still an important conversation to be had?
As a woman of colour, there's not many people day to day when I was coming up that look like me. You know, I've been in meetings that are predominantly male, predominantly white male. I think there's been me as the only female head of department plus one maybe male person of colour. And that's difficult. It's difficult to speak up in those environments. It's difficult to feel like you belong when you walk into a room and nobody looks like you. You instantly feel out of place. And I think it's so important that we keep opening doors to allow more people from more walks of life, because I think only then is the point of reference represented across all boundaries and story that goes into storytelling. You know, I think we're in a time where we're seeing more diversity in what's being told on screen, which is fantastic. But we also need to see that represented in the crew that we're hiring, because how can that translate if we're not if we don't have the people to reference behind the scenes? I just think it's vital. I think the work that CrewHQ are doing is fantastic. I use them a lot in the departments that I work with. We do a lot of training. We use a lot of their trainees. So yeah, I just think it's fantastic that anybody who wants to be involved has a pathway.
For anyone who's listening who wants to have a CV that's as impressive as yours, maybe they work in finance, but this conversation has made them look at the film industry with a new light. What would your career advice be to them?
I mean, I have one big CV advice, because I get a lot of CVs. Please don't send me a Word document. Send me a PDF. It just finishes a document. Like, I think if you're sending Word documents, it just doesn't land as well. It doesn't format as well. Send a PDF. It's nice, easy to print, easy to view. In terms of career advice, there's places to look to see where your skills can translate, and then just keep hammering that door down, keep sending emails, keep trying to contact people like CrewHQ to find that in. And I think once you do, this industry is all about relationships. It's all about building working relationships. We spend more time with people in our office than we do with our families at home. So be nice, be open, be friendly, and just be willing. You know, I will still load the dishwasher and make the tea, and there's nothing that becomes above us, you know. So be open to be doing whatever it is in that moment that the film needs, because we're all working to the same goal.
Is there a piece of financial advice that you find yourself giving to almost everyone or anyone that you work with?
I mean, I think I give it to myself as well, because my own accounting is a mess. Stay on top of it. And I don't. But I think the more you shy away from finance, the more it seems like this big, scary thing. Lean into it. Stay on top of it. And if you're not great, find somebody who's great and have them in your team. Because I think those, you know, everything that we do, ultimately, again, as much as we wish it didn't, comes back to money. And so if you've got somebody, if it's not your strong suit, that's fine. Find someone that is and hire them, bring them in, make them be your coordinator or whoever you need to be. But yeah, I would say don't hide from it, because there's nowhere to go.
Thank you so much for being here today, Dominique, seriously. And thank you for watching and listening. We'll be back next week, where once again, I'll be pulling back the curtain on the film and TV industry. And if there's something that you want to know, you can drop us a message at We Are CrewHQ on Instagram and TikTok. Until next time, take care.